Okay, hello. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Verbling, www.verbling.com. Forgot the first dot. Anyhow, I'm Teacher Oakley. For the next few days at this time slot here at Verbling, we're going to be looking at the TOEFL speaking test. Last week, we did a short series on the IELTS speaking test. As I did with IELTS, this first class, basically, I'd like to open it up for anyone who would like to join me and ask me any questions whatsoever. Please feel free to interrupt me, interject at any time to ask me anything whatsoever regarding the TOEFL speaking test. Today, general open discussion with questions, and I'm going to focus on briefly explaining the process of the test, how the test is conducted, how the test is scored, which I feel is very crucial to knowing how to get a good score. You have to know what they're actually looking for specifically, along with some general totally kind of general regarding the whole test tips and strategies I would like to talk to you about today. Again, I'm going to do a lot of talking, so if you want to join the class, please feel free to interrupt me. I encourage you to get any questions you have about TOEFL whatsoever. And it doesn't even have to be about TOEFL speaking. It can be about any part of the TOEFL test, which consists of speaking, reading, writing, and listening. Any questions whatsoever, I'm happy to entertain. Even questions about TOEFL and IELTS comparisons. I know this is a common area where I get questions. Okay. Let's talk about that TOEFL test in general. TOEFL has steadily moved to the TOEFL IBT, which means there's no more pencil and paper. It's a totally computerized test. For the most part, it has moved that to this format. So most of you, if you're going to take the test, will be seated at a desk with a computer in front of you and a mouse and a headset, microphone. Obviously, you need to make sure that your headset is working properly because you're going to be listening to a lot of audio material, not just in the listening section, but also in speaking and in writing. And obviously, make sure your microphone is working properly. Otherwise, how can you be scored for speaking? Okay, no worries about that. The computer system, the system they use will guide you through checking your equipment. You will have basic functionality, for example, in writing, cut, copy, paste functions, really basic functionality, which you will use with your mouse. So real basic functions, so there's no need to have really any kind of special computer skills or anything like that. Okay, your equipment is there, you've paid the money, you're sitting in your seat, you're looking at your screen. What is the speaking test? Well, the entire test takes about 20 minutes from start to finish. You're going to be listening to a narrator who will guide you through the test. Okay. And we'll actually be asking you the questions on the test. Quick first tip here, listen very closely to that narrator. Many test takers tend to just think, he's just giving me instructions, he's just guiding me through the test. The narrator actually often provides very valuable clues, keywords. And also, it's extremely important that you answer the question properly and don't go off topic. So you really need to concentrate whenever that narrator speaks. In addition to how important it is to be actually answering the question, he will also quite often provide very valuable keywords and phrases which you can use in your response. All right, this 20-minute test consists of 6 questions. Over the course of the next 3 classes after this one, we're going to tackle these 6 questions, 2 questions at a time. Okay, hang on a second. Let me say hello to Melkor. Is that correct?
Hi, good morning, Oakley.
Hi, Melkor. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you.
Great. Where are you from, Melkor?
Originally, I'm from the Philippines, but I live now here in England.
Cool. Where are you from in the Philippines? I'm in Pampanga right now.
Pardon?
I am right now in Pampanga.
Right. I've been to Pampanga before. I used to live in Angeles City. I used to work there.
Okay.
In one of the hospitals there in Pampanga, in Angeles.
Really? Probably. I might have seen you because that's where I live. Okay.
Probably.
Okay. Well, okay, Melkor, are you planning to take the TOEFL test?
Yes, I do, but I'm planning to take it several months from now.
Okay, good. And you're here looking already. Well, okay, here's the next tip for you and everybody else. It is never too early to start preparing for TOEFL or IELTS or CAE. I've had many people ask, well, I'm taking the test in 3 months, but I'm not ready to start studying for the test. Yeah, no, you can start studying 3 years before you take the test, as far as I'm concerned. There's no too early about it. Okay, that's my opinion, but it's my strong opinion. Okay, Melkor, am I saying your name correctly?
It's somebody already because I have a lot of friends from here in England that pronounce as my name was Melkor, but originally it's Melchor.
Melchor. Okay. CH pronunciation. Yeah. Would you prefer Melchor? I'd be happy to do that. I can handle that.
I'd be happy to hear that. Thank you.
Okay, Melchor. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Melchor, as I said in my introduction to the class, I'm going to be introducing the class, talking about the scoring and the basic structure of the test today, as well as general tips. At any point, I urge you, any questions whatsoever that you may have at any point during my dissertation, please, I encourage you to interrupt me and ask. Okay?
Yes, okay.
Just give me a shout out, teacher, and I will immediately let you ask your question. Do you have any questions to start, to begin?
Yes. Actually, I know for a fact that TOEFL has 4 parts: reading, listening, reading, and writing. So I'm concerned more on speaking, because I think most Filipinos have problem with pronunciation, and that's what I'm being concerned of, pronunciation, and how do I organize my thoughts so that I could get at least 26 score on the TOEFL.
Okay.
No,
that's a big question. That's a lot of questions. Okay. Yeah. All right. One thing I will tell you right now, just in our short 2 minutes, 3 minutes of conversation here, you really don't need to be concerned too much about your pronunciation. You're very good at pronunciation. Okay. Secondly, for you and all others out there taking any of these speaking tests, big concern for many of you is your accent. How much will my accent affect my score? Um, okay, in reality, as long as you can be understood, it really won't affect your score very much at all. Uh, a in particular, you can have an accent, but as long as your pronunciation is close enough to the actual phonetic sound, so that
Mhm.
it's how they score as far regarding pronunciation is basically not really. They're not ticking numbers, R's and L's and TH and CH and okay. They're not. They don't really do it that way. They look at it more as to what degree does the listener have to concentrate in order to understand your speaking.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So, if the listener can, or the person scoring your test, can easily understand what you're saying, regardless of your accent, you can still get an extremely good score. In fact, you can get a perfect score, even though you
Mhm.
have an accent. Huge tip here. Huge tip. Uh, a common misconception is that if you speak faster pace, this will
Mhm.
hide accent. This will hide the influence of your L1 or your first language accent.
Mhm.
Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. Actually, by slowing down your pace, maintaining fluency, staying fluid, keeping it even, no long pauses, no repetition. These are no-nos. Repetition, long pauses.
Mhm.
Occasional self-correction is okay, but two, three, four times in one question answer, not good. Um, so you want to stay fluent. This is extremely important. This is your delivery. Uh, However, there's nothing about pace, okay? You're not being in any way scored on your pace. So many students have the misconception if they speak faster, this will eliminate accent influence, but in fact, it's exactly the opposite. Speaking a little slower and being careful to enunciate, in particular, the ends of words is extremely important. The ends of words, of course, grammatical suffixes to show noun, verb, adjective, as well as obviously verbs and verb tense, ing, ed, past tense, past participles. All of these things are really important. So actually slowing down will help you a lot in this area.
Mhm.
Not to mention, as well, um, all of us, when we're nervous giving a presentation, in a job interview, public speaking, any of these types of things, when we get nervous, we speed up.
Right.
It's just human. We all do it in our own native languages. It's just normal human behavior. And so this is advice for anybody who has to do job interviews or presentations or anything else. Actively try to slow down. Many people are shocked. They practice a speech over and over again, and then they give their speech. What happened? How come my speech was supposed to be 20 minutes and it was only 10 minutes? Oh my God, what happened? That's completely normal. You tend to speed up. So if you're actively mentally thinking to slow down the pace a little bit, take your time and make sure that you're speaking clearly, but not losing fluency. You'll eliminate accent problems, and probably because you're already nervous, you're probably going to end up more to your normal, natural speaking pace anyway, because mentally you're going faster. The adrenaline's pumping, and you know.
Yeah.
Okay, So there, that's what I have to say about accent. And okay, the other thing, brainstorming, organizing your speech. Alrighty. Okay, two things I have to say about that. The initial step is brainstorming, just coming up with your initial ideas. Uh, all right, in the TOEFL test, everything is timed. All right, it's a computerized test, and there's nothing you can do. The computer timer is running, and you just have to go with the clock. So you have preparation time, speaking time, preparation time, speaking time, preparation time, speaking time. You can't change that, and there's nothing you can do about it. So use your preparation time wisely. Definitely. You can make notes. Please do. I personally, I could never do the test sheerly on memory without making notes. And I'm a native speaker. That's just not realistic at all. Okay, so make notes. Absolutely, especially in questions 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, for those who don't know, there are 6 questions. The first 2 questions are just a question. You have a little bit of time and you respond. Questions 3, 4, 5, 3, and 4 involve reading and then listening and then speaking. So they're called integrated tasks. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Integrated meaning more than one discipline mixed together. So generally for questions in 3 and 4, you need to refer to the written material really one sentence. So if you have reading time, 45 or 50 seconds, which usually is more than enough time to read. Write down a word or perhaps 2 or 3 words, a phrase that you would like to use in your opening sentence. The reading passage talks about the life cycle of the mayfly, whatever. Or in a conversation piece, the college has announced that they will be extending the library hours in the next semester. All right, that's it. Boom, get it out of the way, short and concise. So when you're organizing what you're going to say, all right, one quick thing about the reading, the listening in 3, 4, 5, and 6 generally is going to have 2 points. So I actually use a number, 1 R or 1 P, whatever, 1 point, 1 reason. And then there's generally the speakers are, if it's the professor, they're going to give a supporting point and then an example or more details or a result, something. So I'm basically, when I'm making notes, I make an outline. Fundamentally, that's it. I have my opening sentence based on the reading, P1.1, and then example, couple words to remind me of that, P2. Almost always there's 2 points. The conversation, there's always 2 points. Man and a woman talking. The man disagrees with the announcement in the college newspaper. He has two reasons. First, he says blah 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 because of blah blah blah. Second, he says this. He gives an example of his sister when she went to university. Okay, so you're listening for those 2 points. You want to write them down. Basically, you know, questions 1 and 2 are independent questions. So they're going to be asking you about your personal preferences. They're going to be asking you about an opinion. Do you agree or disagree? In question 2. Usually question 1 is preference. 2 is some kind of opinion. So you're going to have to brainstorm. Yes. Again, the magic number is 2. Try to think of 2 reasons why you prefer vanilla ice cream rather than chocolate ice cream. Okay. Paraphrase the question. It makes it easier. Um, you know, okay. Uh, all right. What type of book do you like to read? I really enjoy reading fantasy and science fiction books. First of all, because I find it very entertaining and I can just forget all my problems and concentrate on the material, and it's great escapism for myself. Secondly, it's a very cheap form of entertainment. If I can spend 8 hours reading a good novel as opposed to spend 8 hours playing um, playing some kind of sport or doing some activity that costs money, it's much cheaper. Okay, something like that. So fundamentally, I know I'm talking a lot. Fundamentally, the essence here is you know what you're going to do, you know how you're going to organize before you ever take this test. You basically know exactly what you're going to do. All right? And
Right.
in question 4, I'm going to not question 4. Question 5. Okay. Question 5 is a conversation question, but you have to give your opinion which of the choices that you would support. There's a lot of material and 60 seconds. Here is the challenge. I don't think the challenge is not having enough to say. It's how to compress this information into this 60 seconds or 45 seconds in one or two. That's the issue. The only way that you can surmount this challenge, surmount this uh, really difficult task, is to know exactly how you're going to do it before you ever take the test. Make yourself a template. You basically have a template in your brain, exactly what you're going to do. Question 5. Okay, one sentence. The college has announced a new policy as far as parking or driving on campus or whatever it is. One sentence. The man has 2 suggestions. Oh, no, the question 5 is a problem. Okay, the woman has a problem. She has nowhere to park her car. All right, state her problem. That's one sentence. Then every time I'm going to say the man or the woman has 2 suggestions to help her deal with her problem. Okay, I know I'm going to say that. First, he suggests A, which I have in my notes. Next, he suggests B, which I have in my notes. And then I know I'm going to say if it were up to me, I would choose the second option. And then, first of all, because reason 1, and secondly, because so I know I have an outline in my brain exactly what I'm going to say. I know every sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't memorize specific vocabulary, but half the sentences, the phrases, I've memorized it. I've basically memorized the outline. All right. So half of my work is done before I ever take the test. I have memorized a template which I'm going to definitely use. All right.
Right.
So half your test is actually done before you take the test. All right. Just makes it easier on yourself, and just keep it simple. Don't try to get too complicated. Stick to your outline. Stick to your game plan. Yes, coach. Yes, coach. Stick to your game plan. Don't try to get fancy. Don't try to make 3-pointers from the outside. Okay, just if your game plan is go inside, go strong, draw fouls, just keep doing it. I mean, basically, that's the idea, following your game plan.
Right.
In regards, one more thing, in regards to brainstorming, and especially in the first 2 questions, which you definitely have to brainstorm material very quickly. I would also, another suggestion is that you practice word association. Okay. For example, Melchior, if I say, I want you to give me 3 words as fast as you can. All right, in response to the word I'm going to say. Here it is. Basketball.
Hoop, net, and board game. Oh, I mean, basketball. Hoop, board.
Hoop boards. All right.
And NBA.
NBA. Okay, all right, that's it. No, all right, that's fairly simple. This is something you can practice. You should get a study buddy. It's a
Right.
good idea. That way you can kind of critique each other. Um, get a study buddy, and here's one exercise that you can do. Just simple word association to see how fast that you can come up with, exactly as you just did, other related vocabulary and keywords, because that's fundamentally what they're looking for. Actually, they're looking for related vocabulary or phrases related to the topic. Fundamentally, that's what you're doing. Hi, Ken.
Yes, hello. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Yes.
Sorry I didn't say hello to you last class.
No
You did?
problem. I was a bit busy at that time, so
Okay. I thought you were mad at me.
yeah.
Oh,
And my throat is like this for
my
air conditioner now, so yeah,
oh my goodness, Ken, you sound,
husky.
yeah, you don't sound well at all.
But I will feel fine. But my throat is vulnerable for air conditioned air, dry air.
Uh,
So it happens
oh, and
every
it's
summer.
hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, there you go. All right, they may have a temperature. Sorry, they may have a temperature. They may have a question in TOEFL that talks about cold climate, hot climate. Let's do a
Okay.
little free word association. Ken, give me 3 words.
Mhm.
What do you think of when I say hot climate?
Hot climate, summer, air conditioner, Maggie,
Muggy.
tropical,
Husky voice.
yeah, husky voice, Philippines,
Philippines.
yeah,
There you
and
go.
what
Okay.
else? Sea, ocean.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. There you go. There's a little brainstorming free word association. But okay, that's to come up with. And please don't limit yourself.
Mhm.
Don't limit yourself to just words either. When you're brainstorming and you're making
Mhm.
notes, maybe you'll be writing down some of these
Mhm.
words.
Mhm.
Please, phrasal verbs, related
Oh.
verbs. If you can actually think of an idiom that you might want to use,
Mhm.
any simile, metaphorical language, anything at all that you think of. Collocations. All right. You know, heavy smoker. All right. So write down those 2 words because they go together, and this looks very good for your use of vocabulary.
Mhm.
Oh, and that's for any of these tests, actually. You know.
Mhm.
IELTS loves collocations,
Mhm.
phrases. The other thing, Melchor, which also fits in with your question with my strategy of having a template, also learn your connectives.
Mhm.
What is a
Crucial.
connective, Oakley? Sorry.
Sure, no
What do you mean by
problem.
connective?
First of all, secondly, an
All right.
example
Okay.
of this is the professor describes an experiment to illustrate whatever, relativity theory. Okay.
Mm.
Professor describes, remember these phrases, to illustrate, to show, as an example of. Really important. Really important for multiple reasons because of the way they score it, and not just in speaking, in writing as well. Actually, in writing, even more so. Writing, in the TOEFL test for writing, the way they score is really a little crazy. Basically, they're much more concerned with your structure and organization than your sentence structure or grammar. And vocabulary is really only 25% of your score combined. So your grammar's 12.5% of your score. They almost don't care. Your vocabulary, it's all about the organization, paragraphing, and staying cohesive by using transitionals or, as I said, these kind of connectives. Really crucial. And you need to use them in speaking as well. So be armed so that memorize some of these for different, also to do contrasting information, however, on the other hand, contrarily, whatever. Have 2 or 3 ways so you can be using different ones. So you're not using the same one over and over and over and over. Okay, also that's very crucial. Okay.
What did you say about grammar? How many percent of grammar was evaluated?
I was talking about writing. I was digressing slightly, but I was making a point that I really, it actually surprises me, frankly, how very little of the writing part of TOEFL actually cares about your English.
Okay.
Quite shocking.
The organization and collocation or connecting word is much more important on TOEFL writing.
Yeah, cohesiveness. Well, well, actually, you kind of got the same deal here in speaking. I would like to take a look at the TOEFL speaking scoring rubric. I'm going to throw it up here and talk to you about it. Before I move on to how the test is scored, any more questions, Ken or Melcher? All right.
No, there's no question for me.
All right. Let's take a look here. Okay. Here we go. And all right. Okay, as you may or may not know, the crazy TOEFL scoring system is just a wee bit of a mystery, to be perfectly honest. Okay, because you have 2 things. You have your raw score, which is the thing that TOEFL basically explains. And then they use your raw score to somehow, using some kind of formula, to get your final score, which is, of course, in each section, reading, writing, listening, speaking, each section maximum score is 30. Now, this formula that they use to transform your raw score to your scaled score, I've looked all over for that information and you just can't find it. It is some sort of formula, industry secret, that they use based on prior student responses and degree of difficulty. Priority information. So I don't have that information. I don't work for TOEFL. And if I did work for TOEFL, I'm sure that they would sue me if I told you how they figured it out, so I can't do that. Okay. Anyway, to get your raw score, this I can talk to you about. Maximum score per question is 4. All right? So 6 questions, that's 24 points. 6 questions, and how does it get expanded from a possible maximum raw score of 24 to a possible scaled score of 30? You got me. I'm not sure. But there you go. So when I'm talking to you today and the next few days, I'm going to do a lot less talking and a lot more listening, because you guys are going to practice the classes at this same time for the next 3 days. Okay. But what I will be talking to you about whenever I talk about scoring, I'm going to be talking about raw score, because this we know scored. Okay, your raw score in speaking can be 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The only way to get a 0 is to not say anything. Basically, if you talk gibberish but you talk English, you're going to get a 1. All right. Monkey, banana, flies up the blue underwear, Pole Street, negative, 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 kaboink, kaboink, kaboink. Oh, congratulations. You get a score of 1. Very good. All right. You don't even have to make sense. Okay. Now, fundamentally, there are 3 equally weighted scoring areas. Number 1. Coming in at number 1, we have content organization. All right. And in fact, does your response answer the question? Okay, uses clear transitions between ideas. This is what I'm talking about. First of all, second of all, however, on the other hand, you can see this is very important. It's basically a third of your score. Here we go. I was mentioning earlier, when you're giving an opinion, which you will have to do a couple points in the test, giving 2 or 3 points of support. Personally, I would 2 with supporting reasons or examples is better than just 3 or 4 just points. 2 with detail, much better than 4 without detail. Okay. Second thing is delivery. All right. For a perfect score, speech is fluent and sustained. No hesitation, pauses, repetition. This is where this comes into play. Speech is clear. Okay, this is where I was saying earlier in the class, slow down a little. You are not graded for speaking fast. You are graded for speaking clearly. There is nothing in this rubric about pace, speed at which you speak. Okay, delivery also includes your pronunciation, use of stress, intonation, rhythm, blending, that's joining your words together, using contractions, please. In your writing, do not use contractions, use full forms. In your speaking, please do use contractions, that's blending, and that's the only way you're going to get a perfect score. If you refuse to use contractions or reduce pronunciations, guess what? You're not going to get a 4. Okay, and this is what I was saying earlier to Melcher. Though there may be small problems with pronunciation, they don't affect comprehension. I don't have to work too hard to concentrate on what you're saying. I can understand everything you're saying to me, and there's no misconception due to pronunciation. Still, that's a 4. That is a 4. All right. As long as I can understand you, in other words, your accent doesn't matter. Okay, the third area is language. And here, once again, as I had mentioned for writing, this is a combination of vocabulary and grammar. All right, so raw score 4, which is what you're shooting for on each question. All right. Effectively uses a variety of grammatical structures. Well, okay. Very good. Okay. Now, whew, what do they mean? Variety of grammatical structures. What are they talking about here? Melcher, do you have any? What do you think?
Variety of grammatical structures, perhaps how you delivered your sentence in a complex manner. That, for example, a basic basic sentence would score less lower, but if you use perhaps a very complex sentence, it would score a high score. That's what I think.
All right, so you're talking basically about simple sentences, compound sentences, compound complex sentences. Yeah, you're correct. But please do not think, and again, this is in speaking and writing. Really, the correct way to speak or write is to use a mix of simple sentences and complex sentences. Don't try to make every sentence complex using subordinates and subordinate clauses and trying to, you know, add a million connectors like and, but, yet, nor, or to make your sentence go on and on forever. That's not really a good technique either. A mix is the good thing to do, but you're absolutely correct. If you only use simple sentence structure forms, you're really probably only going to get a 2. You really need to mix those in. Okay, very good, Melcher. Also, the other thing we're talking about here is tenses. You got to be able to show that you can use past, present, future tenses, and even better, that you can use a continuous and a perfect tense. If it is applicable, all right? If you're speaking about something, and there will be places where, for example, perfect tense makes perfect sense. Okay, the man has a problem. He has been waiting to talk to his professor. Okay, there's going to be circumstances, definitely, because you're talking about the past. Okay, for example, in the preference question, question 1, I would prefer to blah, blah, blah. Okay, using a modal in a future tense, it's going to come up. So being able to jump past, present, future, use the different verb forms. You do not have to use every single possible verb form to show that you can use a perfect tense or a continuous tense. They don't score it that way. They're not like scoring, okay, we have present perfect, okay, past perfect, future perfect. We have, all right, present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, okay, present perfect continuous, yes, check the box. It's not like that. You just, more general. Okay. Pretty much that's it. In addition, okay, knowing how to basically word order, simple word order, subject, verb, adverb, adjective, noun, so object, noun, the basics there, which clearly you guys already know. Okay. Now, advanced vocabulary included in this third of language. Again, advanced vocabulary includes natural expressions and collocations. It's right there in the rubric. Expressions, that means idioms. All right, you have to do it. You have to, and this can be as simple as throwing in some phrasal verbs. Okay? Phrasal verbs, a verb and a preposition, or when it's a phrasal verb, it becomes an adverbial particle, but whatever. Things like pick up, put down, turn on, turn in, shut off. These kinds of combinations of words, this fits this particular rubric. That's what they consider advanced vocabulary, as well as what I was mentioning earlier, collocations like heavy smoker, soft drink. All right, these kinds of words are going to get you this 4 here. So again, I repeat myself, when you're making notes, don't just think about one word. Even better, if you're brainstorming keywords that you can use, much better to brainstorm collocations. What is the adjective that goes with the noun that you can think of? All right. All right, if I say basketball, not only might I think hoop, court, I might think slam dunk, nothing but net. Okay, All right, I might actually write down phrases like that. All right, so now I'm going to talk about basketball. There's nothing more exciting than throwing up a three-pointer and hitting nothing but net. Okay, I got three-pointer, I got it exciting, I'm using a gerund, I've got a phrase, nothing but net, which is idiomatic. Okay, since I've written down nothing but net, three-pointer, when I'm speaking, I'm going to be able to do a much better job of showing these expressions and collocations. Language is automatic. Student doesn't need to think to find a long word. Okay, this means you're thinking in English, and it's obvious. To translate this little piece of information, that's what they mean. You're clearly thinking in English. Do not make the mistake of pausing or self-correcting or repeating in order so that you can think of a very formal, specific word. They really don't. It's okay to use quite simple, basic, straightforward language. It really is. As long as it's topic related, as long as there's collocations, you don't have to use 4, 5, 6 syllable words. That's not going to impress anyone. It doesn't really matter. You're supposed to be speaking naturally. Okay, so there you go. Just keep going. Don't worry about trying to think of the perfect word. That's gonna, that's gonna mess with your delivery. It may even affect your content. Okay, and again, minor errors are tolerated. You missed an article. You have the wrong preposition. For, to, of. Okay, you can get away with a few, 3, 4 mistakes of this sort on any given question. All right, it's here's an area where there's actually some leeway. Small errors in vocabulary or grammar, or even small errors in pronunciation are not gonna. You can still get a level 4 score. Taking it down a notch, looking at some key points here. Okay, we just looked at how to get a 4. Level 3. Level 3 answers the question limited in response. Oh, this reminds me. Fill up your time, whatever else you do. Don't end with 20 seconds left. Make sure you're filling up the clock. Every question is timed. Questions 1 and 2, you have 45 seconds speaking time. Questions 3 through 6, you have 60 seconds speaking time. At the end of the test, you better have been speaking for 5.5 minutes. The entire fill up every second you have, because it doesn't matter if you get cut off. All right. Here's another very important point. If you get cut off, as long as you were doing all of these things up here in number 4, even though you may not get to your second point or the detail on your second point, or you may not be able to finish everything you wanted to say. Well, that doesn't matter. As long as everything was proceeding in a very logical manner, you had you're using your connectives and transitionals. Everything makes sense, and it's quite obvious. It's entirely obvious what you were going to say next if you had had the time. You can still get a 4. And here's another thing. It is not necessary to have a concluding remark, a concluding sentence. However, a little piece of advice I give for those taking the TOEFL test: if you can see your clock, your countdown clock, so you know how much time you have left. Okay, it's the only thing moving on your display as you're doing this, so you're definitely going to notice the countdown clock. If you notice you have 8 or 10 seconds left, but you pretty much got all the information out that you need to get out to answer the question, go ahead and add a concluding remark. Fill up your time. It shows good organization. It shows you know how to do it. You don't have to do it every time. It would be great if you could do it for 1 or 2 questions. And it's a good way to fill up, anything between 6 and 10 seconds, a quick conclusion. You have 5 seconds or left, and you're done. Well, yeah, okay, that's all right. There's no point in starting a sentence at that point. Okay. Lacks some specific details and elaboration, mostly coherent and organized. Some relationships between ideas may be unclear. Okay, you may get yourself tangled up a little bit. Just keep going if that happens. Okay, again, listener effort is required. Okay, this is in the delivery or pronunciation. All right, if I really have to concentrate to understand you, but I can understand you, that's when you're going to get into this 3 area. Overall, everything is understood. Okay, some imprecise use of grammar structures and vocabulary. This is where limited in the range of vocabulary. Perhaps if you use the same word over and over again, your subject noun, your main topic noun, for example, you can't think of any synonyms or any other way to phrase it, and you keep repeating it, this may stick you with a raw score of 3. Another suggestion, another hint, if you can't think of another word to substitute for your noun, which is your basic topic, which is important when you're brainstorming, if you can't, you may actually consider using a different word form of the same word, and then which forces you to use a different grammar structure. For example, politics, political, politician. All right, these would be considered as 3 different words. Instead of repeating politics over and over again, politicians seem to think the political climate in my country is such that, all right, so that's considered range of vocabulary, and that would bump you right back up to the 4 there. Okay, so sometimes if you're stuck and you can't think of a synonym and I know you're trying to brainstorm so fast, as fast as you can, that's an easy out. So remember that. It counts. It definitely counts towards raising your score and diversity if you're able to do that. Not only that, if you're changing a word to an adjective or a verb or a noun, you have to you have to change your sentence structure, which is going to show greater diversity in your ability to use sentence structure. So actually it's a good thing. Okay, fluency may be affected by language errors. Message is still understandable. Okay. Way down here at 2, limited. You're going to see the word limited a lot. Limited in development of expressing the idea. Okay, if you're not able to give examples or supporting points, if you just can't do it, you're going to end up with a 2. Repetitive. Repetition is just not good. Saying the same thing over and over. And really, you just don't have time for it anyway. You're playing beat the clock through this entire exam. Connection between ideas may be unclear. Okay, you've got... I know I say it 100 times in the next 4 days in these classes. You've got to use the connectives and transitionals. If you don't, you're going to get a 2. Okay, at a level 2, a lot of the listener really has to concentrate because there's choppiness. It's on and off again. Choppiness refers to when someone speaks one word at a time where the person's not speaking in phrases. All right. English is a phrasal language. We don't speak one word at a time, and when we do, with pauses instead of speaking the entire phrase, it's what we call choppiness. If it's so bad that they're entire sentences or a half a sentence, one entire clause that cannot be comprehended, yeah, you may get stuck down here at a 2. Now remember, it's recorded, so they can listen to it over again. So if it's just not comprehensible, even on a recording, yeah, you're going to get a 2. All right. Only basic sentences are spoken fluently. This is what Melcher and I were talking about. Simple sentences. Okay, you cannot form a compound sentence, a complex sentence. Compound, complex. Or you do, but they're wrong. Every time. All right? This is where you're stuck at a 2. Okay. Student relies on simple sentences using basic connections such as listing, just making a list of things. It's okay on one question to include a list. You know, you're talking about your preferences. Well, I really love to eat ice cream. I love chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, raspberry, you name it. I love it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. To do it once, but if you continue to do it all through the test, it's going to be very noticeable. And in some places, some questions, it's just completely inappropriate. Okay, or conjunctions. All right, conjunctions. Don't say because on every question. All right, having a wide range of these. Again, we're talking about these connectives, these transition. Not how do you connect phrases and sentences, subordinates. Subordinators or subordinate clauses. One, yeah, basically, there's nothing to talk about. It's really basic. Your English is extremely basic. In fact, formulaic. You only say what you have memorized. When they say formulaic, according to formula, you guys, if you're here in this class, you're way above a 1 at this point. So no point in. Okay, okay, there we go. Any last questions? I've only got mere seconds left. Gentlemen, any last questions?
Yeah.
Please, I do encourage. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When is your next? I think this is a 4-part series. You said. When would be your next topic regarding TOEFL?
Well, this is it this week. So this time period, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on where you are, of course, on the globe. But this time, right now, this hour, for the next 4 days.
All right. I'll try to catch with you then. Okay. That
would be great, because the rest of the week, the next 3 days, questions 1 and 2, questions 3 and 4, questions 5 and 6. We'll talk about basically how to template that, what they want, and how you're going to do that, and then practice, practice, practice.
Right.
Okay.
All
right.
I'll see you then. Okay.
Terrific. All right. See ya.
Yeah. See you.
Bye-bye.